The latest release of ngMetadata 1.9 comes with support of change detection strategy for components. Why is this important for creating an application structure in one-way data flow and enforcing immutable data structures? Let me show you. In Angular 2, we have one-way data flow and one-way data binding by default, but that's not entirely true when dealing with objects. In this example, we have here parent component in this violet border and child component in this lime border. The parent component contains some user object with its name and location. And now we are using a default change detection strategy. So you might be thinking, all right, so these data are passed to the child and won't be changed. That's not entirely true, because if I change this, Martin, hello, as you can see, the data was propagated and changed to the child component, which is not really what we want. And why is this occurring? Well, because this is how JavaScript works. The data are passed there via object references, and we are not changing the reference, but just the property of that object, so it's also changed in the child. Instead, we want to propagate the changes only when the reference changed. For this, in Angular 2, we have ChangeDetectionStrategy OnPush. And now, if I change the property on the parent, as you can see, it changes only within the parent, but not in the child component. And if I directly change the reference, the changes are propagated correctly. So this is how it works in Angular 2. Let's take a look how it works in Angular 1. So here we have the same app with latest Angular 1, which introduces one-way data binding via this special syntax. And again, if we change just the property value, not the whole object, Martin hello, the same odd behavior happens in Angular 1. Now in Angular 1, there is a new design pattern emerging that we can copy those bindings within onChanges lifecycle hook, and with this feature we can kind of simulate the onPush change detection strategy like in Angular 2. So now if I change this, hello, once again, the value aren't propagated to child, and if I change directly reference, everything is working as we expected. That's nice and everything, but this design pattern can be quite repetitive and mundane, so how can we mitigate this with ngMetadata, you ask? Let me show you. So here we have the same application written in ngMetadata and Angular 1, and here is a child component which has binding to this data for the user. And if we look in the child component, as I mentioned, here is the one-way data binding for the user. And once again, if I change the property, it also changes in the child component. So as I mentioned, with the latest release of ngMetadata, we get the change detection strategy support for components. So let's use onPush, and let's wait for refresh. And now if I change the property, it doesn't propagate. Instead, I have to use the whole reference to propagate the data to the child component. So that's it. Latest release of ngMetadata. Check it out.